In this video, I'm going to be working with how to work on yourself with a knee injury. Now, I'm going to be doing two videos. One is I can't stress enough. I know when you're working on self-care, you don't realize that you're overgoing one limitation for the other. If for any reason you have a bad back and leaning over like this compromises you, please don't do this video. Do the next video that I'm going to have where you're working on your knee in a more advantageous position. I'm going to have the knee up, raised, so your back isn't putting on any kind of, I wouldn't call it a strain, but you can't go through a movement to fix a movement when there's interruptions. That interruption could be anything from even a previous surgery. Even if you feel you don't have pain, start with the lesser first. But when you're working with yourself, the biggest thing to look at, and don't try and correct. Now, what I mean by correct, right now I couldn't stand up on this leg if I wanted to. It's not in a perpendicular position, and if you have any knee pain or swelling and so forth, what you'd be looking for is something like this. And also too, in this position, my foot's torqued. I'm not looking to correct any of this. Just let it go. Do what you're doing. What I'm here is sort of like you're lifting a hand weight and you're coming in behind. Again, I have this nice and easy. If you need, you can even put a pillow underneath your arm here, depending on your flexibility. But what you're doing here is all you're doing right now is sort of touch for tonus. What does that mean? It's like looking to see if your bread is done. You know, you're just going in, just very, very subtly underneath the knee, and you're just seeing how that knee is responding to your touch, right? Now, ultimately, what I'm looking for is to start seeing where the midline is going to present. Right now on me, because again, the way my foot is going out, my midline is going to present in a little bit. But again, this is about just looking at the tonus of the knee. The reason this is important, because right now when you've strained the knee for whatever reason, whether it's a full-on rip or just muscle tenderness, swelling, there's lots of things that can happen. There's a load going through the knee that should either be happening through the foot, pelvis, or lower back. The body has to work in conjunction. The knee is not a lever. The knee is there for counterbalance. When I'm standing on any kind of surface, even if you think it's flat, right? It's not flat. There's an unevenness to everything, and we're also on a curved earth. So if you put a marble down, if you're in construction, you know what I mean by that. Marble's going to roll. It's not just going to stay there. Well, our bodies are constantly working on these things. I just did a whole bunch of castle stairs, and the stone is worn, and each one's a little bit level. And being from the US where everything's to code, it's just so weird being out of the context. But at the same time too, if you're doing sports, you might be on a soft surface and then you're on grass, 1 foot on each. We should be able to do those kind of movements, or there's a divot or whichever, or you're playing in the sand. All of those matter. At the same time too, I'm talking away, I'm still working on my knee. All I've been doing right now is just this soft touch. It is really characteristic to want to straighten, to want to bend, to want to prove something that you have sudden flexibility, which it shouldn't be there. What I'm looking for is to reduce, first of all, the inflammation, that itis. And by doing so, you have to add in light rotational touches. So now your touches for going from here to just this subtle little turn. I'm not saying grab the knee and twisting it. It's just like you're presenting, just like if you were scooping up water out of a bowl, right? You can't go in there with straight hands. You're not going to get anything. You want that scoop, and that's what you're going to be working on with here. Now, my knee is already starting to cross midline. You might notice the same. You might feel more movement from the back of your knee than the front of the knee. Again, I haven't corrected my foot position. I haven't done anything, right? Because right now when you have a strained knee, every other system in your body is strained, because your knee is your knee and an elbow, the reason they are involved is actually because it's the transfer of movement, right? I can't create a movement from my elbow. I really can't create a movement from my knee, but it's there to give the structure to the transfer of movement. And so the knee is swollen. That means either the receiving end, which is your foot, or the pelvis, however you want to look at it, again, is compromised. So the knee's load on this is just too much. Yeah, there's obvious reasons you could have twisted it, but it still goes back to you put a load through it that just wasn't meant to go through the knee. The knee is not meant to be a weight transfer joint. It's meant to transfer movement. Yes, I weight transfer, but that's more through my feet, let's say, and more my pelvis. So now what I'm starting to do is a light lift. I'm not lifting the knee like this because that would mean I'm shifting my body. I'm just starting to pick it up. And you can see that everything is connected because my toes are actually not wiggling, but they're reacting to this response. I call this my hanging technique. I use it a lot when I'm working on people. But what I'm doing is, again, is I'm just letting that transfer of movement start to come through. So I'm bringing in and I'm bringing back down. You can go nice and slow. If you want to go slow like the ocean, the water coming up to the beach, hanging out for a second, and then coming back down. That's one aspect of it. And, you can just go back to see if that makes a difference. But again, for me, now I can see my don't wiggle your knee if you're really injured. But you can see that midline crossing is starting to happen with my knee. This is really, and then what you're looking for is a little bit of that slide to happen. Now, let it slide into the position it wants to do it, and then go back to the same thing. You're just going to go in and touch, because now that touch, you should start feeling a little bit of a weight transfer over the foot. It won't be complete because, again, the foot's still not underneath my knee. You want these variations, first of all, because you've injured yourself, the reason you're watching this. So you went out of a variation that you were familiar with, and it strained out the knee. Yeah, you can say, oh, I did too much, but you went out of variation one way or the other. So you want to bring back as many variations as possible. Now I'm starting to rotate into that again in this position. Again, first we're doing tonus, then a light rotation, and then a light lift until your foot slips a bit more. Now, for those of you too that are taped, AFOs, bags, ace bandages, whatever's your vocabulary, even if it's just the toe because you broke a toe, this will be a little bit more processed, and that's fine because you're taking a quarter of your bones, or a quarter of your bones are in the 2 feet combined, but you're taking 26 bones, foot, ankle, tibia, fibia, and you're taping it up. So you're taking a continuous flow of movement and putting it into 1 to 2 entities, and so it'll change this. Now I'm going into my hanging tech. See already now I slipped a little bit more into place. Now I'm just going to go back and do the same thing. Two things that you're looking for, I'm going to jump the gun, is again, am I being able to bring the foot into place? Right? And with that, once that happens, you want to come in to the upper knee. Notice I'm not grabbing my knee. I don't have all my weight here. It's like I'm picking up a strawberry. I'm adding to this. So it's like a lift pull. But now I'm putting a bit more movement towards my foot, but also I'm trying to get movement around the patella, my kneecap. I'm just going to go down around and move that. Really is quite a simple move. Notice I'm going down into my tibia fibia. With that, I'm securing my arm around it. Again, I'm going to bring this back in. That's getting much nicer into place. Again, if you've just had surgery, this is where you're at, folks. You know what I mean? Especially if you're under any kind of doctor's orders to not bring it in more than you need to. But now you can see now too how much more my foot is sliding into place. I can come it out again, and again that I'm working on that. Notice what I'm doing. I'm bringing back weight transfer into my knee instead of me using my muscles and then again causing kind of injuries. This is what we're working on. It's just that knee weight transfer. Now in the next video, I'm going to show you how to do this in a very more non-laborious position. And again, laborious, what I mean, if I had a backache right now and I'm bent over like this, my back hurts and my knee hurts, then I'm going to want to do it where I'm securing my back and I'm not feeling uncomfortable that way. I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.